Hi, it's Amanda Murphy, BERNINA Quilting and Longarm Spokesperson, and I'm here today to show you how I quilted block 5 of my Meadow Minis pattern. The trick of this block is to just do the quilting in steps. So the first step, which I'm showing here, is quilting in the ditch around all the main diamond and square areas. And I'm actually, you can't quite see it because we're not close enough, but I'm quilting just to the side of the quilting line in this case because I have white thread and I don't want it to pop out on the purple. I'm actually going to use this white thread later to call attention to some secondary patterns I'm forming. So I'm going to go all the way around these diamonds and all the way around all the in the ditch areas of this sampler. And then I'm going to come back and revisit these diamonds. And what I'm going to do here is create a smaller diamond. I'm kind of showing you the shape inside this larger diamond. I'm going to use my straight line ruler to do this. I'm going to use the second line down in the ruler and place it right on top of the corner of the diamond. So you'll notice I'm starting my stitching in the corner of the diamond, and then I'm stitching to an area that's not quite at the next border. It's a little further out. Because I want these diamonds not to be the exact same shape, sort of to be echoed diamonds. So I'm going to quilt over to that point I just marked. And you can see it's not quite in the corner. It's just shy of the corner. Now I'm going to quilt to this next corner. And that's going to create a line, basically a bent line that's a little shallower than the diamond itself. Do you see that? So I'm basically going to be quilting a narrower diamond within a diamond. So why wouldn't you just quilt a smaller diamond inside a diamond? Well, in my case, it's because I'm lazy and I don't want to end my thread. I would rather keep going with the same thread, and that means that one of the points, at least, of this diamond needs to touch the edge of the block. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start and stop my thread with every diamond. So now I'm going to come back to the base of that diamond, and I'll be positioned perfectly to stitch the dark purple diamond. After you've done all your diamonds, after you've finished your skewed diamonds, you're going to quilt a square within the central square. So I want my square within the central square to be 1 inch smaller on all sides, which means on my ruler, I'm going to have to look for lines that will give me that distance. So here I am bringing the bobbin thread to the top, and I'm going to use my straight line ruler to stitch this design. I'm going to look for a line on my straight line ruler that will produce a line that's 1 inch away from the edge of my block. So here I have a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. If I choose the area in between the next line and the second line, so between the second and third lines, that's going to give me a line that is 1 inch away, because it's 3/4 of an inch on the ruler, and then another 1/4 inch from, of course, the needle to the edge of the block. So you can see it's very faint here, but you can see there's on the edge of the ruler, there's a line 1/4 inch in, 1/2 inch in, and then a full inch in. So if I center the second and third lines right over my seam, I should get a line that's 3/4 of an inch in, or 1 inch away from the edge of the block once you add in the distance from the needle to the edge of the foot. So you quilt all the way around, and then unfortunately with this design you are going to have to end your thread because it's not connected to the next design. So you'll notice I chose to do this on just very limited areas of this sampler, because it does take extra time to end your threads each time. So here you're going to see me, I already did a few stitches close together. I'm going to end my thread by pulling that loop of top thread, doing one more stitch, and pulling up the bobbin thread by pulling both the top and bottom. Notice when I clip this, I actually have the machine pulled away a little bit from the area where I'm clipping, even 1 inch, and that's so I don't leave my bobbin thread super short for the next time I'm stitching. So now, even though this is only 1/2 inch away, I have to bring my bobbin thread up again because I'd made the decision I didn't want the designs to connect. So this time, this square is only going to be 1/2 inch away from the square outside it, so I can use that first 1/4 inch mark on the ruler to line up on my previous stitching, and that will give me a line that is 1/2 inch away. And here I'm watching the edge of my foot again. I know if the edge of my foot is 1/4 inch away from that stitching line, then I'll be producing a line that's 1/2 inch away. So I'm always, as I approach those corners, I'm looking at the edge of my foot and stopping when I think the edge of my foot is a 1/4 inch away. Now, it's pretty easy to do that when the distance you're trying to uh, figure out is a 1/4 inch. It's not so easy if the distance you're trying to figure out is 2 inches. If I was doing something like that, I might put painter's tape on my ruler to indicate the 2-inch spacing and help me out, because that's really hard to see. Okay, so now there's no need to end your thread again. You can just go straight into free motion. I decided to do pebbles because I love the way pebbles look. I do not stress out about pebbles. I don't worry about my pebbles all being the same size, because I know I can't make them the same size. I'm just not a person who's very good at uniform sizing. So I let my pebbles be different sizes, and I let them sometimes not be circles. And actually, I was teaching one time, and I saw someone who did these kind of rounded rectangles, and they looked awesome. She was concerned they weren't like circles, but they looked great, and I would have loved to see a modern quilt with that fill. So, don't worry. Your quilting is very much like your handwriting. Don't worry if it doesn't look like your friends. It shouldn't look like your friends, and it certainly should not look like a computer did it. It should look like a person did it. So, embrace that handmade look. We don't look at antique quilts and say, look at all that awful hand quilting. Hand quilting has a beauty that's all its own. And even if it's done by machine, the same thing is true. A person is guiding it, and it should look like a person's guiding it. So here I filled this whole area with pebbles, and then I can end my threads. And now I'm basically going to do the same thing in my other diamond blocks. I'm going to create marks that are inch in from each side. That just gives me something to aim for when I'm quilting. And I'm going to use my straight line ruler again to quilt from mark to mark. So I have all the marks done here. If I was doing an heirloom quilt, I would most likely use chalk. It's just hard for you to see it on camera, but you can see that's the mark I'm aiming for. And that's where I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread. Remember, don't bring the ruler over until your presser foot's down. That's on a domestic and a long arm. Same rule applies. You don't want to throw off the timing of your machine. So now do a few stitches close together, and then bring over your ruler. And here, that's a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to aim for 1/4 inch beyond that to get the 1 inch from the seam line distance that I want to get. So now I'm going to quilt down the side of the square. Okay, and then turn my ruler, quilt down the other side, and I'm going to continue on like this and then fill the area with pebbles. And then the last step for quilting block 5 would be to do some free motion in those leaf areas. So I just chose to do a simple paisley. Paisley fills are some of my favorite fills just because they work up fast for me and they're pretty forgiving. And also they have corners where I can stop if I forget what I'm doing and plan my next move. So I just love paisley design. And you'll notice I didn't even take off my ruler foot because I'm just trying to do this fast and I'm pretty confident with the paisley. And so I feel I can leave it on. Now, if I was trying out a new design, yeah, I might change my foot over to something where I could see a little better. But for this type of fill, it's not going to show too much, and I feel fine. There's the paisley. So I hope you've enjoyed quilting block 5 of my Meadow Minis pattern.